Hello to all you in YouTube world. My name is Scarlett, and I am an atheist and skeptic in progress. I like to contemplate matters of life and philosophy, especially what gives us meaning and purpose. Welcome to another Oddities in the Bible. I had the idea that I would click into a random book of the Bible and wait for the inspiration to flow. So I decided to go to the book of Numbers. It did not disappoint. I think I will be revisiting this book many times. For those of you not familiar with this book or who have forgotten it, Numbers takes place after the Exodus when the Israelites, led by Moses and Aaron, wander the desert. There's not one but two censuses, and the action, as it were, is interrupted by numerous rules and descriptions of the feasts and sacrifices the chosen people are supposed to observe. The action I alluded to consists mainly of the Israelites whining to Moses about the fact that they are wandering in a desert and Yahweh getting angry at their impatience to be in a stable place with, food and water. What struck me as I was reading through the various chapters was how many times Yahweh threatens his chosen people with death for doing innocuous things like approaching holy places. I won't discuss every instance of death because this video would be way too long. Numbers is the book, by the way, that also tells how both Moses and Aaron, these faithful servants of Yahweh, won't actually reach the promised land because on one occasion they didn't trust him to produce water out of a rock. So let's just look at a few instances of God telling his chosen people they will die for doing little things that don't actually hurt anyone. These first instances concern approaching the tabernacle, whose specifications can be found in Exodus 26, and which holds the Ark of the Covenant, described in Exodus 25. We kick off the death threats already in chapter 1 of Numbers, and continue on into chapters 3 and 4. Deep breath. Chapter 1, verse 51, whenever the tabernacle is to move, the Levites are to take it down, and whenever the tabernacle is to be set up, the Levites shall do it. Anyone else who approaches it is to be put to death. Book 3, verse 10, appoint Aaron and his sons to serve as priests. Anyone else who approaches the sanctuary is to be put to death. Same chapter, verse 38. Moses and Aaron and his sons were to camp to the east of the tabernacle toward the sunrise in front of the tent of meeting. They were responsible for the care of the sanctuary on behalf of the Israelites. Anyone else who approached the sanctuary was to be put to death. Chapter 4, verse 15. After Aaron and his sons have finished covering the holy furnishings and all the holy articles, and when the camp is ready to move, only then are the Kohathites to come and do the carrying, but they must not touch the holy things, or they will die. Same chapter, verse 19. So that they may live and not die when they come near the holy things, do this for them. Same chapter, verse 20. But the Kohathites must not go in to look at the holy things, even for a moment, or they will die. That's a lot of repeating the same thing. I mean, I know parents have to repeat the same instructions to their children, but seriously, I think we get it. Don't go approaching the holy things. Also, it has to be said, the writer of Numbers is not pulling a Chekhov's gun situation here. I mean, this is not a setup for a payoff later in the plot. No one in Numbers will actually be put to death over approaching some holy place. We'll have to wait for 2 Samuel or Chronicles 13 for the story of Uzzah, who touched the ark when the oxen transporting it stumble, and he is immediately killed. But here in Numbers, none of that happens. Among the interesting deaths that happen in Numbers is someone that is going to be put to death for picking up sticks on the Sabbath. So let's look at that. Chapter 15, verses 32 through 36. While the Israelites were in the wilderness, a man was found gathering wood on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and the whole assembly, and they kept him in custody because it was not clear what should be done to him. Then the Lord said to Moses, "The man must die. The whole assembly must stone him outside the camp." So the assembly took him outside the camp and stoned him to death, as the Lord commanded Moses. I just find it interesting that this punishment seems made up on the spot. Like, we don't have this Mosaic law thing figured out yet. But worse, death for picking up sticks? Harsh much? I mean, what can you say? This is why I think a lot of us feel like the Abrahamic God is an abusive spouse. The punishments are beyond extreme for minor offenses, when these people, who I remind you are lost in the desert, don't have it all figured out yet. Yahweh could institute a little timeout or something as a lesson. Stay over here, don't talk to anyone, remember what the Sabbath is for. Things like that. You know, good parent stuff. So our next crazy death is because of some whining. There's a lot of complaining in Numbers if I haven't mentioned that yet. So this is a little complicated, but the setup is there's this group of people that are unhappy with their treatment, and they go to Moses and say, we don't like what's going on. And Moses says, yo, God's going to pick somebody, so do these things and he'll pick. And they're still complaining. They don't feel like their situation is all that good, and they feel like they're treated like slaves. And Moses gets angry with them and says this to the Lord, don't accept their offering. So in biblical fashion, we have a lot of repetition of stuff. We finally get to the good part in verses 20 and 21, when the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, separate yourselves from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once. And Moses and Aaron are worried that everybody's going to get punished. But the Lord says, separate everybody, move them away from these tents. All right. So we have Moses telling everybody, move away, keep away from these wicked men, and now we're going to get to the punishment. And so, chapter 16, verse 28, then Moses said, this is how you will know that the Lord has sent me to do all these things, and that it was not my idea. If these men die a natural death and suffer the fate of all mankind, then the Lord has not sent me. But if the Lord brings about something totally new, and the earth opens its mouth and swallows them with everything that belongs to them, and they go down alive into the realm of the dead, then you will know that these men have treated the Lord with contempt. As soon as he finished saying all this, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them and their households, and all those associated with Korah, together with their possessions, and they went down alive into the realm of the dead with everything they owned. The earth closed over them, and they perished and were gone from the community. At their cries, all the Israelites around them fled, shouting, the earth is going to swallow us too. That's just, wow. Just remember, if you complain about your circumstances or treatment, this is what you'll get. Buried alive with all your family and possessions. So let's finish this chapter and the last bit of punishment and death that chapter 16 has for us. So in 39, we have a priest collecting the censers, and in 40, we're told this was to remind the Israelites that no one except a descendant of Aaron should come to burn incense before the Lord, or he would become like Korah and his followers. The next day, the whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. You have killed the Lord's people, they said. But when the assembly gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron and turned toward the tent of meeting, suddenly the cloud covered it, and the glory of the Lord appeared. Then Moses and Aaron went to the front of the tent of meeting, and the Lord said to Moses, get away from this assembly so I can put an end to them at once. And they fell face down. And so we have some atonement taking here in verse 46. And in verse 47, we have the plague had already started among the people, but Aaron offered the incense and made atonement for them. He stood between the living and the dead, and the plague stopped. But 14,700 people died from the plague, in addition to those who had died because of Korah. Then Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meeting, for the plague had stopped. I just love how offhand that plague is thrown in there. Yeah, we'd already started the plague, and all these people died, but Aaron lit some incense, and it was all good. But consider this. Here are people wandering the desert, lost, wanting stability in food and water, and they feel like they aren't treated well. And the answer is die. Seriously. I think if Yahweh really is like a parent, or you can think of inspirational leaders in general, he needs to be more understanding of people. He should tell them, yeah, I get that you're unhappy. I'm asking you to suffer a little now, but believe me, there's a payoff in the end. Stay with me here. I know you can get through it. But nope, He's the narcissistic, angry dictator who thinks people shouldn't question anything and don't need any reassurance and all that. And it's interesting, they don't doubt he exists in all this. He shows himself and everything. They all see him. They just aren't sure about where he's led them. That's an interesting point for your free will people who think we can't know about his existence or we wouldn't accept him in our hearts or whatever. We've only scratched the surface of Death in Numbers. It's a pretty unhappy book. Not only people die, but animal sacrifice is part of the mix. It is incredible how many animals need to die so Yahweh can be appeased. But that's it for now. I have been Scarlett, giving my life meaning and purpose by making this video. I hope you liked it. And if you did, you can, YouTube like it by hitting the like button. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.